faith is science. Faith is science. It's the same thing. We're supposedly created in God's image. So we got his knowledge.
Good morning. We're back with another episode of Qué Sigue, What's Next? And today we have a very special guest, Dr. Peter Kash. Dr. Peter, thank you for being here with us today. Dr. Peter is the founder of Camilla BioCapital. He's also an entrepreneur, teacher, and he's also the co-founder of iOncology. Dr. Peter, tell us all about this so the public gets to know you a little better.
All right. First of all, buenos dias. It's great to be back in Mexico, which I love. I've been to 74 countries around the world.
Wow.
And what makes Mexico unique, and I've been here a few times, Mexico is the only country in the world, the only, where you go into someone's home, usually people say, hello, how are you? Would you like a cup of coffee? Would you like a water? Mexico is the only country in the world, every home I go into says, welcome back to your home. Welcome to your house. It's wild. It's such a beautiful ambiance that is immediately created that is unique to the DNA of the Mexican culture. So it's great to be back here. So about me and about this. For the last 37 years, I go around the world with my colleagues that are medical doctors and PhDs, and we look for unique molecules for cancer, for Parkinson's, for Alzheimer's, for HIV, all different types of molecules, but mainly cancer. And what initiated that is in 1968, I still remember, June of 1968, I moved from Brooklyn, New York to Long Island, and which is a story within itself. I was the only Jewish kid in my elementary school, the only one when I moved from Brooklyn to Long Island. We could have a whole segment on that. And we're playing hide and go seek. I was 7 years old at the time, so the audience could figure out how old I am now. And we were playing hide and go seek with about 20, 25 little kids, 6 to 8 years of age. And one of the girls, her name was Mary Ellen O'Brien, and she was running, and her wig fell off. And we never saw someone who's bald, who's a girl before. Back then, boys had crew cuts, but we never saw. And what did little kids do? We laughed. We found out 3 months later she died of leukemia. And that was a psychological, anthropological stimulus to me. So, and what's fascinating is my first drug I got approved by the US FDA was called arsenic trioxide. It was originally from China, from a Professor Zhang, who actually became the Minister of Health of China. That's a story into itself. Maybe you'll invite me back.
Yeah, sure.
And that drug was approved for pediatric leukemia. And it's even used here in Mexico. So for me, it was a sort of whole web of life, full circle of Mary Ellen O'Brien, getting into this field of business, and a passion. I say it's better than being Michael Jordan in the morning, or Renato, or a soccer player. It's a passion that I have that I just love. And your generation, if I may, because I have children your age, most cancers will be controllable in your generation. I don't say the word curable. Most cancers will be controllable. In fact, I have no doubt. With combination therapy and artificial intelligence combined, we're going to nail a lot of diseases. It's going to be mind-boggling.
Wow.
And Camelot is the company that I'm chairman of, and much younger medical doctors and PhDs that work there. My doctor is in education, but I've been doing this 37 years, so I've been going to medical school for 37 years. And it's very exciting working with young people. because they have fresh ideas, fresh intelligence, inquisitiveness, and they listen to me.
Definitely. Tell us something you've learned about being a professor that otherwise you wouldn't have learned.
Right. Well, I've been a professor for 25 years, actually even longer. In 1992, so that's 30 years, right? Oh my God. At Polytechnic University, where I taught in the graduate school, marketing / entrepreneurship, and then I was a professor, adjunct professor at Wharton, University of Pennsylvania for 4 years, teaching the history of entrepreneurship. And then I taught for 2 years in Tokyo, which was an incredible experience because there's no word for entrepreneurship in Japanese. The closest word is kigoya, which means to own a business. So that was a great experience. And then I taught at Hebrew University, which is my last quote-unquote class about 13, 14 years ago in Jerusalem, which was an amazing experience because there was never a class in entrepreneurship in the 100 years of Hebrew University. It's crazy. In the startup nation, there was no class on entrepreneurship at Hebrew University. And now the class continues, and so very excited that I hope to stimulate something.
Yeah.
So I love it. And I learn more from the students than they learn from me. Really. Imagine I have anywhere from 50 to 120 students in a class. How can my intelligence and my experience be greater than their collective intelligence? So it's symbiotic. So I get to be stimulated as well.
That's amazing, honestly. And talk to us a little bit more about this passion. When did you realize your passion was like finding a solution for these cancers or controlling them? Or how would you?
Okay, well, it's not me.
Yeah.
It's not me. I'm a wannabe. You know what a wannabe is? How do you say wannabe in Spanish?
Wannabe, yeah.
Like a wannabe rock star or wannabe movie star. I'm a wannabe scientist.
Okay.
I realized that I was semi-intelligent, but not very intelligent. I recognized that at 18 years of age. Although at 17, I invented an orthopedic knee brace, and I got venture capitalists to invest in me. But knowing your weaknesses is a strength. But I realized that you don't have to win the Oscar. You can win a supporting Oscar and have the same dopamine rush. So I decided that I was going to help scientists, and that's what I did. And we've co-founded over a dozen companies. We have 6 drugs approved at the FDA. I've had 7 Nobel Prize winners in medicine and science on my board of directors. Like I said, I've got to travel to 74 countries around the world, working with government leaders and presidents, and it's been an incredible journey. And I tell people now that I turned 64, the first 60 years was just a dress rehearsal. I'm more excited for the next 60 years, which we could talk about because that's in my book.
Yes, for sure. We're going to talk about your book. If you want, we can. So you wrote the book.
I brought a copy of a book, and this is
Medicine in the Bible.
Yeah. So this is the book. Okay. And it's written in English, Hebrew, Chinese, and Italy. I did book signings in China, and it's a tool. So all my books. My first book is called Make Your Own Luck. It's also in Spanish. Mm-hmm. The Spanish version is something to do with suerte, dreams. And I donate all the money to charity, 100% of my proceeds of all my books. My other book, the one called Make Your Own Luck in Spanish, we donate the proceeds to the Alex Foundation in Spain, which is for Spanish children with Down syndrome. It doesn't go to research. It goes to help the families acclimate the child into the family cohesion.
Okay.
This book, we're utilizing, I just came from Argentina, I was in Spain, and I'm going to every country, to purchase PlayStations for pediatric oncology hospitals. So where children with cancer are being treated with chemotherapy. So a little girl from Mexico who's 9 or 11 years old, say, can play with a little girl in Bogota or in Lima or in Buenos Aires, and they have something to connect to and get their mind off of what they're doing. The parents can go around the block and leave them alone for 30 minutes and 45 minutes, which is important. And so it's my social impact every year I try to do, or every 2 years, a social impact that is makes a small difference in the world.
For sure. And of course, besides all this social impact, why should people read your book?
If they want to live longer.
If they want to live longer, they should read it.
How's that for a byline?
No, that's perfect. Tell us some facts.
Okay, I'll give you some facts that I'm going to share in about an hour and a half.
Okay, yeah, further.
So this is not live, so they can't take it. I'm joking. I'm only joking. So we were talking. Let's talk about the first thing first. We're laughing here, right?
Yeah.
Where's the first time in recorded history that the word laughter is in a book anywhere in the world? Where's the first time that the word laughter? ¿Cómo se dice laughter en español?
Risa.
Okay. Where's the first time it's ever written?
Yitzchak.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. In the Bible, when Sarah became pregnant at 90 years of age, she started laughing. How am I pregnant? And that word, litzchok, okay, to laugh, became Yitzchak, Isaac. Okay. His name is laughter. It's amazing. And that's why I have a talk, a segment in the book about laughter and the importance of laughter. Laughter lowers your cortisol levels. When you lower your cortisol levels, you lower your insulin resistance. You increase your dopamine. It creates an incredible environment. And what's fascinating, and I'm sure here in Mexico too, but I don't know. When I don't know, I say I don't know, especially when you're a professor and a student asks a question, you don't know, you say, I don't know, I'll get back to you. But in America, for the last 100 years, the predominant percentage of comedians are Jewish. From Seinfeld to Larry David to the Three Stooges to Goldie Hawn. It's endless. When you look at Milton Berle, the Mr. TV, the Marx Brothers, it's endless amount of that. And in Yiddish, it's always about laughter because of all the pain that we suffered. We use laughter as a form of medicine, and which it is, by the way. So that's one thing. We were just talking about longevity, to read the book to live longer. So the one question that people ask me that is the best question, and you asked me before we came on, okay, is what is the one thing that I discovered in my 5 years of research with my co-authors, Dr. Linda Friedland and Dr. Shmura Anaiv, who unfortunately passed from brain cancer, is what was the one fact that stood out? And you know what it was?
What was it?
In the Genesis, in Bereshit, in the beginning of the Bible, God says that humans will live to 120. It didn't say 180 for Chai. It didn't say 80. It didn't say 700 years like other biblical figures. Humans will live to 120. That's a bold statement, no? Then the last parsha in the Bible, in the Torah, is V'zot HaBracha, right? V'zot HaBracha is the last reading on Simchas Torah, and that is when Moses passes. And it says that Moshe Rabbeinu dies, Abba Shalom, at 120. It's mentioned twice as bookends, in the beginning and in the end. And you know what I just figured out just now?
What?
Today is my 51st anniversary from my bar mitzvah. Today, September 28th, 1974, and my parsha was V'zot HaBracha. I'm not making you can...
That's such a...
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just click. So why is that so interesting? In 1960, geneticists discovered every animal species have specific telomerases. Humans, our genetic lifespan is 120. Dogs are average age 17 years of age. Elephants, 60 years of age. Greenland sharks, 400 years.
What are we doing wrong with it?
Okay. Great question.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating about it is today there are so many people living over 100. Mm-hmm. In Japan, they have the highest propensity. Over 100,000 Japanese today live over 100. Oh. And you ready for this great statistic?
Yeah.
Are you sitting down? Yeah. It's a 7-to-1 ratio, women to men.
Wow.
7 times more women live over 100 than men.
Is there like a reason? Or
Women are the superior species. I'm going to prove that to you in a second or so.
Okay.
Okay? In America, we have 100,000, and we have 3 times the population almost. So Japan is clearly, in Mexico, it's about 19,000. About 19,000 Mexicans are now over 100 years of age. The oldest is a guy who's 115 years of age. I did my homework before coming on. First of all, it's great that we're achieving that now. I'll explain why I believe women live longer. So we're slowly getting there. In 1900, the average lifespan of the average American male was 45 years of age. In the 1820s, so going back almost 200 years ago, in America, the average lifespan of the average female was how old? 25 years. Not because it was the average, it's because a woman died in childbirth. So the mean, if you're looking statistically, brought that down. Women can live easily to their 70s, but the mean brought that average down. Now, the average male in America is living to 78 years of age. Women higher. Okay? So, what are we doing wrong? We're doing a lot right, but we're doing a lot of things wrong. Number one thing is, and we talk about a whole chapter in the book about diet. 4,000 years ago, if you look at all the fruits that they mention in the Bible, from figs to pomegranates to honey, it's mentioned, and it was a reason why it was mentioned. Nature provided us to look at colors. So what's the first fruit mentioned in the Bible?
Apple.
Boom, apples. Eve and Adam. 7,000 varieties of apples in the world. 7,000. In 1886, in a magazine in Europe, in a Welsh magazine, somebody wrote, "An apple a day keeps a doctor away."
Yeah.
Okay? There's a reason apples are extremely healthy. Very, very healthy. So diet plays a major, major role. And our diet, unfortunately, has been horrific, especially the last 100 years, where we're consuming massive amounts of carbohydrates, massive amounts of sugar, massive amounts of not exercising. My last book was called Freedom from Disease, my second book. My first book is Make Your Own Luck. My second book is Freedom from Disease. And I talk about insulin resistance. Maimonides, the Rambam, do you know how he would test for if a person was diabetic? He would taste the urine. The Rambam was an amazing, amazing individual. When you look at his greatness, just a fascinating. There's no one like him. That's why they say there's no one like Moses to Moses. When you read, and I read a lot about him, and he died at a young age, about 62 years of age. And I think from depression, from the readings that I've done, he suffered a lot. He had a lot of responsibility. So stress plays a major role as well. Stress is a major killer. And in your generation is much more stressful than in my generation. Much more.
Do you think that's because of like social media?
It's a killer.
Yeah.
It's a killer. I love movies.
Yeah.
My oldest son Jared produces movies. He just came out with a new TV series with 4 episodes called Red Alert. And his last movie that is now in Spanish, also called Tatami, both produced from Israel. Social media has drastically changed, if I could say,
the narrative.
The narrative, but more importantly, is I think that people like small sound bites. Small sound bites. How many of your friends read books?
Not many.
Not many. Okay. Yeah. First we had Facebook, then that wasn't fast enough, so now we got Instagram, Instagram, and now that wasn't fast enough, and now you got TikTok.
Yeah.
So everybody wants
everything fast.
So the stress is drastic. When I was growing up in the 1960s, if someone did not want to hang out with you, and it happened, they would say, "Oh, I have to go in, my mother's calling me." And then they would meet with the friends without that one friend, and you never knew, and no one's hurt. But today, if someone's not included, they see on social media My God, it's tragic. It's terrible. You know, we have to be more inclusive. Do you know what the word for friendship is in Hebrew?
No.
It's yedidut. Yedidut. And the word for friend is yadid. And the root of that word is yad. It's just having a hand for another person. Hebrew is a beautiful, beautiful language. It's an amazing language. So I think that depression is at an all-time high at your generation. And I think that there has to be greater interconnectivity with family, which plays a major, major role. So I don't know if it answers your question 100%, but stress is a killer, because stress it creates an upload of cortisol. And once you get an upload of cortisol and it spreads through your body, it's pro-inflammatory. And once you're pro-inflammatory, it accelerates disease. So it's best, if you know someone who's a little bit lonely or someone who might have an issue, is to connect to that person. It's an important, beautiful thing.
And talking about what you said earlier, that women have a longer longevity.
Oh, right.
Why
okay, here we go. I'm going to get in trouble by rabbis here. I'm sure of this. How do we know that women are the superior species? How do we know this?
Because they give birth.
They give birth, okay, that's a good answer. But first impressions are very important. Like, you guys didn't know me before you met me.
Yeah.
Hopefully you found out that I'm semi-knowledgeable, semi-funny.
No, very, very knowledgeable and very funny. Okay.
So first impressions are very important. First time you taste vanilla ice cream, first time you go on a date with a guy or girl, first impressions, first interview. People decide to hire you in the first 5 minutes. Even if there's 3 or 4 or 5 interviews, there's been studies. First 5 minutes, they already know where they're going to hire you now. So first impressions. What is the first word in the Bible? First word. Bereshit. You're getting a lot of bonus prizes. What does the word Bereshit mean? In the beginning. But it's an acronym. It's not a word. Let me go back a little bit, if that's okay?
Yeah.
I said it's very important, like when we're talking about connections of friends, it's a great movie. I love movies. That's where I brought up my son's movie.
Oh, sure.
Crocodile Dundee. Crocodile Dundee, great movie. And there's a scene in the movie, I won't give away the movie about it. It's a great movie, you have to watch it. And there's a scene when someone says, well, tell me about, do you see a psychiatrist or a therapist? Therapist? I talk to my mate, my friend.
Yeah.
That's how they help each other, is talking with one another. So why women are superior? First impressions. The first word is Bereshit. You ready? You sitting down still?
Yes.
You have a bet and a tough. Bat. Not Ben. Bat means daughter. The first word in the Bible. Then next to those 2 letters, so those are the columns holding up the word, you have a Rosh, Aleph, and Shin. Rosh, the boss, the manager. The Rosh, the head is Rosh, the manager. Then you have an Aleph and Shin next to each other. Esh, which is fire and passion and energy. And then you have a Shin and Yud, Bereshit. Shin, Yud, Shai, which is a gift. All those words are in the first word in the Bible. It's beautiful. So I believe however level you think God wrote it or Moses wrote it or 10 white, it doesn't make a difference. They put that first word in there. So I think that they were trying to tell us very early on. And Abraham, how do we get who we are today? Before we were Jews, we were Hebrews. And Abraham was called an Ivri. God did not give us our name. God did not give us our name. The name Ivri was given to somebody who said to Abraham, you are an Ivri. Ivri means to cross a geographical boundary. But that's not what it means. Hebrews and Abraham created a moralistic boundary. Back then they were sacrificing virgin girls to gods. He said, no more. You can't do this. And what's beautiful in our faith is that we have matriarchs. In fact, there are more matriarchs than patriarchs. Do you know that? No. We have 7 matriarchs and patriarchs. And that's the word Yisrael. So the word Ivri means to cross a moralistic boundary. What does the word Yisrael mean? Nobody knows it. We say the Shema Yisrael. People watching this are saying, what is he talking about? What does it mean? It means Yisrael. It's an acronym. The Yud is for Yitzhak and Yaakov. The Shin is for Sarah. The Resh is for Rivka and Rachel. The Aleph is for Avraham. And the Lama is for Leah. It can't be anything else but that. Mathematically, there are 22 letters in the alphabet, 7 matriarchs and patriarchs in our faith. And by the way, more matriarchs than there are patriarchs. Again, women are superior to men. Okay? My daughters are going to love this interview. And women are meant to live longer in nature because there's a better chance for the offspring. You need your mother. You need the husband for propagation. And I have a whole... You wanted to know why to read the book? You asked me before, why should people read the book?
Yeah.
Most of the people, what age are they?
They're like 25 to 27.
Beautiful. I have a whole chapter on sex in the Bible.
Okay.
So besides longevity in the Bible, I have a whole chapter on sex in the Bible. And I have a very famous female Orthodox biblical anthropologist who wrote on the back of my book in Israel. And she had to get permission from her rabbi to be able to write the foreword for the book because I talk about sex. But sex is mentioned over 200 times in the Bible. Over 200 times. It's the first mitzvah when you're married to have sex, even before honoring thy father and thy mother. It's incredible. And the power of monogamous sex when you're married, it strengthens your immune system. I'm going to talk about it in another hour. Frequency of sex builds up your immune system. You create a greater amount of natural killer cells and antibodies to fight off infection. When you're postmenopausal, it increases estrogen for bone strength. It reduces your cortisol. We've been mentioning that word cortisol. It over-amplifies oxytocin. Oxytocin is the chemical that is released with very positive hormonal connectivity. When a baby breastfeeds, the woman develops huge amounts of oxytocin to create connectivity.
With the child.
And same thing when you have a partner, and they have shown there's a huge amounts of data that married people live much longer than people who are single and much happier and less depressed. So I have a whole chapter on that. And even talking about breastfeeding, we were talking about nutrition before. Nature put 32 oligosaccharides, that's complex carbohydrates in breast milk, instead of antibiotics. If there was antibiotics in breast milk, we would not be here, we'd be extinct. The bacteria would have developed a resistance. So these 32 sugars that nature put in breast milk blocks the adhesion of bacteria to cell surfaces, 32 specifically, and that's why breastfeeding is so important, because there's no other way to get these carbohydrates or fatty acids,
And talking about how my generation is like very anxious or like the most depressed in time, as a doctor, what would be some advice to decrease this anxiety, to decrease this depression?
Well, number one, as a doctor of education, a few things. Number one is, in my previous book, I mentioned the importance of exercise. Optimal is 2,400 seconds a day. And why am I talking in seconds? So people focus and concentrate. Now they have to think 2,400 seconds.
Yeah.
It's 40 minutes.
Okay.
And it's sweating, so you could taste the salt, the sodium that your body's releasing. 20 minutes is also good. 40 minutes is better. It's not talking on the phones with your friends. It's exercising. Okay. So that also decreases your cortisol, increases your dopamine, builds up your immune system. There's no debating it. Okay. Diet plays a major role as well. We have this fascination of sugars. It's tragic. Type 2 diabetes is the largest disease now in most countries. China, India, America. You know what the fastest growing disease now in America is? Fatty liver. Fatty liver. You know where you get it from?
From what? Like
not just obesity, alcohol drinking. Alcohol, they came out with a study almost 3 months ago, 7 specific cancers, 7, that is caused from alcohol drinking. So I tell my own children, if you're going to take a drink, nurse a drink, one drink, that's it. Especially for women because they're lighter in weight and they try to keep up with the environment. Nurse one drink. If you're going to drink, nurse one drink. Sip it and that's it. No more than one drink, maximum. And even one some might claim is too much. But I like a nice glass of wine. I had some Mexican wine last night, but I had a half a glass and it was enough to satisfy me. So I think that we need to shut down social media. I think you don't have to be Shomer Shabbat or Dati Orthodox to shut your phone off Saturday, shut off all social media, nothing. Just shut it down for one day.
Like a cleanse.
A cleanse.
Yeah.
That's why we have fasting. Fasting is very, very healthy. I do intermittent fasting every day. You're asked every day I do intermittent fasting, minimum of 14 hours a day. So last night, I think the last thing I had was at 10 o'clock, so I won't have anything until 2 o'clock today, or 12 to 2 o'clock. But 12 to 14 hours, 14 hours is probably minimum. And I exercise every day. I do 6 to 9 kilometers walking or swim every single day.
Tell the public what the advantage of fasting is.
First of all, fasting cleanses your body. Always with medical supervision. And not teenagers. I want to emphasize that. Someone asked me while I was here, should my child is thinking about fasting or doing this on diet. The body is still developing.
Okay.
But stay away from sugar. Sugar's a killer. Not to say that sugar's not good, and you don't have to be a fanatic. My wife.
Any type of sugar.
Yeah. Well, white sugar,
White sugar.
Processed sugar.
Okay.
My wife's an incredible baker. My wife makes the best brownies in the world. I enjoy a brownie,
Yeah.
so I'm eating sugar. I'm not a fanatic, but you have to control it. Exercise is extremely important.
Yeah.
Diet is important. Taking that one day off, but fasting, not just on Yom Kippur. My son Kobe, fasts once a year, 5 days. 5 days he fasts every single year for 5 days. Now he's a doctor, so he knows which electrolytes to take and the liquids to take, and it cleanses the stomach lining. Okay. Also, he has Crohn's, so it's very, very important for him. He's learned how to manage that very effectively. So there's a reason why there are several different fast days, and if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. You could look at very religious people in the Orthodox community. They're not working out at a spa here. You don't see them swimming in the pool for 7 hours. But what they do is they have a relatively short diet. They eat in small amounts. They fast 5 to 7 times a year, right? And they live into their 80s and 90s without all this crazy exercise. A lot of it is genetic. In fact, I talk about it in the book. There was a study done by Professor Nir Barzelli and Dr. Hassi Cohen, both friends, and they discovered specific genes for aging. And in order to be part of the study, you had to be 90 years of age or over 90, with your siblings still alive. And they discovered the specific genes involved with aging. So a lot of it is genetic, but you can enhance that by living a better quality life. And definitely no smoking. Smoking is crazy. But I think that stress is one of the biggest problems that we have that makes cancers more aggressive, makes autoimmune diseases more aggressive. And the word for inflammation is a Greek word, and it means the fire within. So we want to extinguish that fire. So we got to figure a way individually. I meditate every day. Every day I do 7 to 10 minutes of Tai Chi every morning. So I do my exercise, I stretch, exercise, and I do Tai Chi every morning. Sometimes I do it in the middle of my walk somewhere. My kids hate it when we go on vacation. I do Tai Chi on the beach. They act like they don't even know me. So, but meditation, it's the reason why the Chinese and Asians live as long as they do. They know how to manage the stress and how to meditate for thousands of years.
Oh.
Also, I want to bring up something else. Can I?
Go ahead.
Because I just remembered it.
Yes.
The beauty of our faith and our philosophy is women's rights. It's 4,000 years before there were animal rights. We had animal rights. You can't take an egg from a nest while its mother's still there. It's not kosher. You can't have the milk of the mother and its calf. It's not kosher. When you have two oxen next to each other, two oxens, don't know how to say it, they can't have a muzzle. They have to be able to touch each other. So we have a day of rest, which is probably the greatest invention the Jews gave the world. TGIF, 24-hour holiday. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah.
I think it's the greatest thing we ever gave to the whole world. And it was for animals as well. When you go to women's rights, we're not taught this in Hebrew school, but in the Talmud, it is the wife's right to have sex, not the husband's. I bet you didn't know that.
No.
It is the wife's right, not the husband. The husband has to be respectful to the wife. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's. I don't want to get deeper into it, but that is the basis of it. So I love the morality and the philosophy of Judaism, and I think that if the philosophy was more understood and more studied, I think it'd be more encompassing around the world from people with other faiths as well.
As well, yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And now I'm gonna go back so we can talk more about the science behind everything.
Please.
Okay, so tell us about the first time you felt like what you were doing was like not going where you expected, maybe.
In what respect?
In for example, when you're founding your companies. So our listeners,
Entrepreneurs.
our entrepreneurs, sometimes have a lot of failures and they want to give up.
Got it.
So
Got it. I am the king. I am the king of failure. I love rejection. I love rejection for two reasons. And this is probably first of all, it reminds me of my social life in high school in Long Island. That was a joke. But why do I love when people reject me? Entrepreneurs are always trying to raise money. They're trying to get things. Why do I love rejection?
Redirection.
Redirection. Okay, that's very good. I got to remember that. See, I learned something from you. That's great. I love it when people say no to me, because when investors say no to me, it means that they're decision makers. So whenever anybody says no to me, I say thank you. They go, why are you thanking me? I just rejected you. I said, actually, I now know that you're a decision maker. So maybe not in this one transaction or this company, but eventually I can come back to you. When someone says, come back to me, send me some more information, who else is investing? It's a waste of energy. But when someone says no to you, it's as good as a yes. So this is number one. Embrace rejection. If you ask me for one thing about entrepreneur and by the way, I could tell you in my 40-year career, I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years. Very, very humbly, I've raised over $2 billion privately and publicly even more. So I've had a lot of rejection, but a little bit of success. And sometimes when you say no to somebody, they say no to you and you say thank you. They go, why are you thanking me? And you explain to them that, first of all, you've been helpful telling me why you're rejecting me. And I'm learning from that. Number two is, I know that I can come back to you in the future. 5% of the time they go, what is your minimum investment? And they invest with me after they just said no. Just by creating that positive connectivity. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So since we're talking to entrepreneurs, I'm going to sum up you're going to get a Wharton MBA in 1 minute. A Wharton graduate degree or undergraduate degree, doesn't make a difference, in 1 minute. The whole key to success of any product or service you're trying to sell is two things. Let me give you an example. What does Revlon or Estee Lauder sell? What do they sell?
Beauty products.
Beauty products. No. They sell hope. Hope is the intangible. The tangible is beauty products. But Estee Lauder, who, by the way, I had a chance to meet, I was a waiter. I was a waiter at her 80th birthday party. True story. Can't make it up. I did everything to get to where I am today. Yeah. And she's figured out how to sell hope. So the whole key is taking something intangible and making it tangible. That's how you become a millionaire and a successful business person. How do you become even more successful? You create a want into a need. This Starbucks was a want. A want. It became a need. Perrier water. So when you figure out a want into a need, tap water is just as good as bottled water. It tastes just as good, but everybody needs the Perrier or the Avion or whatever. Same thing with soaps and this and the hair product, clothing. You convert a want into a need, and when you could figure that out, it's what. And I tell my students, don't go from A to Z, go from Z to A. So don't think, okay, I'm going to create this product, and then I'm going to raise $500,000, and then I'm going to expand in the Mexico City, and then go to my neighboring countries. Go from Z to A. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? And go backwards. I have a friend, he's a very good, very famous Hollywood producer, and he told me that he makes the poster for the movie before he makes the movie. Talk about Z to A. That's Z to A.
Yeah.
So come up with a plan, and sometimes it helps you get there a little bit easier. So that's probably the 3 or 4 best advice that I can share with the audience.
No, that's wonderful.
Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yes, that's a wonderful piece of advice for sure. Tell us about how you went from, what's like the first step an entrepreneur has to do? Right now you said you were a waiter. So from waiter to now
so
recognized doctor. So
my first business, I was 7 years old. In the back of comic books, you could buy flower seeds. Back then it was a dime, 10 cents. And I'd buy them and I would sell them to neighbors for 25 cents. And they would buy it just because you're a little kid. So that's at age 7. At age 11, I had a newspaper route. And that's when I started thinking like a business person. Of course, even at age 11, I had to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it'd be raining, sometimes it'd be snowing. No cell phones when your bike falls over and all your newspapers go all over the place. You can't call your parents. No. So I had to adapt. And I realized that when I went to certain houses to collect the money, once a week, you would collect the week money every 2 weeks, which days a neighbor would give me a bigger tip. Sometimes if I go Sunday morning, they were so tired, they put their hands into the coin thing and they get a bigger tip. And I started learning how different people react, really, at age 11. At age 16, I had my first business called Cash and Carry. My last name is Kash. It's an expression. And I used to sell bumper stickers at concerts. I'd buy them for 18 cents a piece and sell them for $1 at the concert. And I had extra at the end of the night, two for $1. And I was making $1,000 a night.
Wow.
Okay, which, not bad. And then I just read constantly. I'll give you a few books.
Yes.
Better than even my book. My book is good. These books were great. The most important book I think I read is What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School by Mark McCormick, who became my agent for my first book.
Wow,
you can't make it up.
No.
His company was my first agent.
Circle moment.
It's crazy. A new book out is The Ride of My Life, I believe, by Rob Iger. He's the CEO of Disney. There's a book I just finished, I think around the block, around the corner, about something of that line, about the founding of Dunkin' Donuts and how the son fired his father.
Wow.
I mean, it's this incredible story about Dunkin' Donuts. You must read the Wall Street Journal as a student. You have to read the Wall Street Journal. You have to get a subscription to know what's happening globally. That's the single most important thing, especially on the weekends, the weekend edition, when they have a technology review. For your audience, you have to read Globes and Calculus in English. Globes and Calculus, the English versions of what's happening in technology in Israel. Every day they have a daily, every day. and something's going to spur your interest. You're going to see something about a technology in Israel that you could bring here to Mexico and all of South America. I have a friend in Panama, a young kid, 30 years old. I told him about a vegan egg in Israel, which I'm involved with my son Jared, called Yo Egg. The first vegan egg is made from chickpeas. He never heard about a vegan egg.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it.
Tastes like an egg, looks like an egg. It has the texture of an egg, smells like an egg, and it's called Yo Egg. And he goes, Peter, we got to bring this here to South. You have to read in order to find the knowledge. And so that's another bit of advice I would give to young entrepreneurs. Read, and learn from failure. Ask people for advice, and hire people smarter than yourself. Everyone I hire, even my secretaries, is smarter than me. I'm not just saying that. I really mean it. And when you have a company, you have to spread the equity around. So you can see, I don't know if you saw my TED Talk.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go to YouTube and you can see, put up Peter Kash, TED Talk, and I talk about social capitalism. So I'm not a capitalist. I am a social capitalist. Capitalism is a tool to do good. So I'm a social capitalist. So you have to give your equity, even to the cleaning woman who's cleaning the toilets. She gets a little bit of equity in your company. The driver who's driving you around, he gets a little bit of equity. You got to spread that.
And what did you read that you found out that you wanted to do? You know how?
Oh, wow. First of all, you're coming up with good questions. For me, the two books that changed me who I am, one was a book called Exodus by Leon Uris. I'm sure you know the book about Israel and
the Exodus
founding. That book changed my life more than any other book. So that one book made me who I am today. I know it sounds crazy, and I've read well over 500 books. Well over 500 books. I think the book I mentioned to you, What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School by Mark McCormick, I read it, reread it again, and constantly learning from that. He has a part 2 of the book, but just like movies, sequels are never as good as the originals. Also, while you're a student, you can get away with things that you can't get away with the day after. So when you're a student, you can call a CEO of a company and say, I'm a student at this university, I'm doing a paper on whatever, and no one is ever going to turn you down. No one. The day after you graduate, that's never going to happen. Never. So take advantage of being a student. Read the Wall Street Journal, meet with people, read what's happening in the Israeli technology space. And personally, I think next year, I just gave a huge lecture in Israel. By the way, my next visit to Israel will be my 80th visit.
Wow.
My 80th visit since my first in 1979. And I gave a big interview to a large audience. And I predicted that next year, 2026, Israel's going to be on economic steroids. It's going to be huge. Huge. The technology that these young entrepreneurs, so Startup Nation, in my opinion, is the first act. Starting next year is going to be unbelievable. And your audience could take advantage of it. There are 350 million Spanish-speaking people around the world, maybe even more than that. The audience, young entrepreneurs, you could take products from Israel, become technological ambassadors as a capitalist entrepreneur, but also be a goodwill ambassador if you find that need that people want. So even countries that are negative to Israel, I think are going to come back around as we develop needs that they need. It's not wants. So I'm still very bullish that we can turn this situation around, the negative situation that's going on. I'm very optimistic. And I travel everywhere, and most people I meet are very good. And no matter their background, no matter their faith or religion or philosophy, I've been blessed by people that I've been connected to around the world. So take advantage of that. Read, and see what you could license in, not just to Mexico, but all of South and Latin America, and bring in your friends that might have a better understanding. Maybe you're not an engineer, one of your friends is. Maybe someone who's better in marketing. maybe someone who has better linguistic skills. The other thing I'd recommend to your students is to speak 3 languages fluently. So most of your viewers speak Spanish, English, some of them Hebrew. Learn a 4th language. It's very easy when you're young to learn a language. There's actually a gene in the body that allows you to learn languages. It shuts off at age 12 to master a language. Not to learn a language, but to master at age 12. You can't develop an accent after age 12. And the guy who taught me that, his father won the Nobel Prize for penicillin. So he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, now because we have not much time left, I'm gonna make you questions that they came through Instagram. For those of you who don't know, we always put the next guest on our podcast, and you can ask questions to them. And if they want to find you on social media, how can they find you?
I'm there. I'm the real Peter Kash on Insta. Is that? On Instagram. I'm not a big social media person per se.
Okay.
My kids get mad at me. I write books. I do movies.
And there's no social
I like to believe it or not. I like to stay below the radar screen, and I like my successes to speak for themselves. So the big thing I'm trying to achieve now is I have 3 drugs in development that I'm very excited about for pediatric. Glioblastoma, which is pediatric brain cancer, ovarian cancer, and pediatric bone cancer. And that is where I spend the bulk of my time. We spent 13 years developing these drugs, 13 years. And now we're in human clinical trials, and I'm very, very excited to find out results in the very near future. But social media, I'm not posting, I'll let your generation match.
Do that. So these pills can be like a possible cure to those.
You don't say the word cure.
You don't say
never.
That. Okay.
But I believe that there's no magic bullet to cancer or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. But I believe with AI now, we can figure out combination therapies much easier. So you could take drug A, drug B, and drug C, and with AI, we can figure out which combination works best. Okay. Which drug do we take first and second? Which receptor do we target first or second? And we're going to save, without exaggeration, probably 100 man years. We're going to be able to condense probably in the next 7 to 10 years. So instead of taking 100 years, we'll be able to figure out these combination therapies that are going to nail a lot of these diseases. I'm so excited.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How long does it take for a pill to become FDA approved?
Right. So in the past, 12 to 17 years. Okay, so you have to have a lot of patience.
Yeah.
So I have a Kashism. If you have patience, you get to help patients.
Yeah.
You like it? If you have patience, you get it. So, but now with AI, it's much, much shorter. I believe that the future will be 7 to 10 years instead of 13 to 17 years. I think we're going to condense that. So very, very excited with what AI is going to do.
For sure.
For sure.
For medicine and everything. Okay, let's start with the questions.
Okay.
Do you believe that innovation without ethics can be truly called progress? Why or why not?
So again, I'm a social capitalist. I'm not a capitalist. So the answer is you have to have ethics involved. You have to. And it's not just walk away. There's plenty of ethical things you could do. And non-ethical, it's no fun. There's no challenge to it. Can I share something?
Yes.
So Albert Einstein, I verified it by 2 sources. I couldn't get it in writing, but I verified it by 2 people who would know. Was asked in one of his last interviews if he had any regrets. You know what he said?
He didn't have regrets.
No, I regret being born Jewish. Wait. And the person said, why? He goes, because it prevented me from becoming Jewish. There was no challenge.
Yeah.
There was no challenge. There was no purpose. So it's good to have challenges. So always do things ethically.
If you could only choose one, faith, money, or science, which do you believe actually saves more lives?
But first of all, faith is science. Faith is science. It's the same thing. We're supposedly created in God's image. So we got his knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Everything's already there.
Agreed.
All the ingredients are there. We just have to use it properly, ethically, in a purposeful manner. I don't like to talk about it because you don't want to brag about it. You don't want to be audacious about it. We make up 0.025% of the world's population. Less than a quarter of 1%. Jews make up less than a quarter. But we have 22% of the Nobel Prizes in medicine and science, even with anti-Semitism. So it'd be even more.
Yeah.
So science is a God-given part of nature.
Okay. What's your opinion on technologies aimed at extending life indefinitely?
Indefinitely?
Yeah.
What for? What for? Okay. What is the word? What is the word for grave?
For
in Hebrew?
grave?
For grave, like when someone dies. What's the word for grave?
I don't know Hebrew.
Kever.
The what?
Kever.
Kever.
Kever is the word for grave. A kuf, a bet, and a resh. Right?
Uh-huh.
If you remember, I told you about Hebrew being another great movie, Contact, with Jodie Foster. Our language is three-dimensional. It's not linear. In that movie, something about that. Great movie. If you reverse the letters to bet, kuf, resh, it's boker. It's a new morning. It's a new morning for the person who passed and the people who live. So without a change of seasons, we have fall, we have winter, we have spring, we have summer. Same thing with us as people. And you get to live forever through not just your offspring. This is important.
Yeah.
So you don't only get, the body's only a shell. It's the hardware. The software is the DNA and the RNA. So there's a whole new field of medicine in epigenetics. So say you have a moment with somebody that gets over-amplified in your brain. There's a chemical in the brain called acetylcholine that allows us to remember. That memory gets passed to the RNA.
Okay.
You follow so far?
Yeah.
Now, if you have children in the future, not in every memory, but those that are over-amplified, that gets coded into the DNA.
Wow.
So even though you're not blood related to me, okay, your future children might have this episode. They won't know, of course, it's subatomic. But so you could pass on your DNA by having influences with people all around you.
Wow.
It's wild.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So you don't want to live forever. But you do live forever through your philosophies, your actions, and by passing on your DNA, first propagation through marriage and sex, and also the way that you influence other people, and they pass those moments that get over-amplified. Like I'm sure you remember your grandmother's favorite cake from the smell. That's a memory. By the way, it's the most sensitive sense in the body is
The
smell. So hopefully that answers. You live on forever through your actions, and for me, that is enough. For me.
What's the craziest fact you've discovered or learned that you'd like to share to the audience?
Okay, you guys ready? Okay. It took 5 years to write this book. So this is crazy. So when I was writing this book, it's a lot of research. It's endless, and I did it with my colleagues. And Dr. Linda Friedland, by the way, you can follow her. She's big on social media.
Okay.
Dr. Linda Friedland, especially if she does a whole thing on women's health. And she went to medical school at 17. She's much smarter than me and a better writer than me. After the destruction of the Second Temple, Jews scattered. Ancient Hebrews scattered. Many of them went to Saudi Arabia, okay, which is even mentioned in the Quran. Muhammad originally considered himself a Hebrew prophet. It's really. So many of them were merchants or navigators, and they went to the east. Okay, here we go. During the Ming Empire, 1200, 1400 years ago, there were thousands of Hebrews living in China. Over 1,000 years ago. The Ming Emperor changed all their names. So the names were Ben Solomon, Ben Zvi, Ben Shimon, Cohen. He changed them all to 7 Chinese surnames. 7. Zhang, the guy who discovered arsenic trioxide, that drug, my first drug.
Yeah, the one you told me about.
That was his name, Zhang.
Yeah.
Zhao, who was the original person who discovered America 60, 70 years before Columbus. There's a book about it. I think it's called 1629. Li, Lo, and 3 other surnames. It's in the book, so you got to read the book. There are tens of millions of Chinese today, Koreans, and Japanese of this wave, and I talk about it in the book, that went from ancient Israel to the East. So there are tens of millions of Asians today that have DNA directly related to our ancestors. There's no debating it. And I even interviewed a Japanese Buddhist monk when I did the book. And if you look at all the Japanese holidays, they all coincide with Jewish holidays. If you look at the Japanese written language, it's very similar to the Hebrew language. And they believe in Sapporo, that one of the lost tribes settled there. In Korea, they studied the Talmud more than Jews in America. Koreans study the Talmud more than Jews in America. Or they have an inner connectivity. So that's probably the neatest thing that I discovered. And your generation, because my generation did a terrible job in public relations in Hasbara, your generation is much smarter than we are. You might be more tense and more anxiety, but you're much smarter than we are, much smarter than we are. So I have faith in your generation dwarfing what we have succeeded to do to create a greater connectivity around the world.
Perfect. And I'm going to ask you one more question, because this is a really good question for the... Okay. You've seen hundreds of pitches. What's the biggest mistake founders make when they try to convince you to invest?
So you remember before I told you that investors determine in the first 5 minutes? That's another great book. It's important to share. So give me 1 second. I don't want to forget. I'm not embarrassed when I have to look things up. This is a great, important book for everybody to read, and it's one of the best lectures I ever heard. I have a in my
in your book in your library.
I have my top favorite 30 books I have here. It's actually called my top favorite 30 books. So I just want to share this one book that's very important to read, and it was written by the founder of Waze.
Okay, yeah. So that's Israeli.
The Israeli Ori Levin, and the book talks all about raising money and how many people reject them. I think it's not the problem; it's the solution. I think that's the book, but it's Ori Levin that wrote the book. The biggest mistake, in my opinion, is trying to sell. Don't sell. Let people buy. Let people buy. Don't oversell. You don't have to have a 30-page deck. I was at a meeting, true story, with just this past May in Israel, and I went with 2 of the brightest scientists in the world, and they had this beautiful deck and graphs. This investor said, I just want to see one slide. I want to see the data on this specific graph. That's it. And so they found that one specific graph. He goes, okay, you got my interest now. One slide. One slide. So it was, and I'm still learning. Like, I'm 60 plus years old. I've been to thousands of meetings, lots of rejection, a little bit of success, and I learned something. And that's another Kashism. So my 2 favorite, I'm glad we're ending. We can maybe end on this note.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. What are my 2 favorite Kashisms in business and life? Less is more. Less is more. Once you understand that concept, you become very successful. And I started with nothing. I'm first generation, American, whatnot. And not everything has to be equal in business, but everything has to be equitable. And people get worried about, somebody wants 60% of the company because it was his idea, and no, we have to split it 50-50. No, nothing has to be equal. It just has to be equitable, fair. And that's why you have to give your secretary and your janitor and your driver a little bit of equity in whatever you're doing. You don't have to give them 20%, but it has to be equitable. So those are the two things I'll leave on, is just remember that less is more, that the journey is more important than the destination, much more. It's so much more fun, even if you fail. You don't want to fail, but I've had a lot of failure. It's a lot of fun. And to remember that nothing has to be equal, even in marriage, in friendships. I bet you call one of your friends more than they call you.
Yes,
exactly.
Sure.
It's not equal, but it's equitable. And those are the two things I think that are very important for an entrepreneur to remember.
Perfect. And we always end the episode with the question "Qué sigue?", which means what's next for Peter.
What's that? Great. Okay. What's next? I hope that next year I can come back with you with good data.
Yes.
Really good data on this pediatric brain cancer drug. To me, it would be my magnus opus of my life. It would be my magnus opus of my life. I'm writing a new book on leadership. And I'll give you something that's very important to grab it. Moses is the first person in history for 4,000 years. So we look at the Bible for ethics, and it's the best business book in the world. We spoke about business books. Moses gave me the greatest lesson in leadership. What was it? He's the first person in 4,000 years until modern capitalism in the 20th century that he turned the company over to a non-blood relative while he was still alive. No other country in history ever did that. They always had their son or the daughter, and if they're not, then the nephew or the grandson, or there was civil war, and there was war, bloodshed. Moses gave us the greatest lesson that you bring on board no nepotism. You bring on the most capable leader. And so my next book is on leadership, which I'm very, very excited about. But still the most important thing is really getting great data for the brain cancer and for the ovarian cancer drug. And then my life will be totally, totally complete.
Perfect. Well, Peter, thank you so much for your time and for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And thank you
Encantado.
to all
Encantado?
Encantado, sí, yes. And thank you to all our listeners.